Once upon a time, in a small town nestled deep in the forest, there lived a little boy named Jack. Jack was a curious and imaginative child, but he was also very afraid of the dark. Every night, when his parents tucked him into bed, he would beg them to leave the night light on and keep his bedroom door open. But even then, he still couldn't shake the feeling that there was something lurking in the shadows. One day, while playing in the woods with his friends, Jack stumbled upon an old abandoned house. It was a ramshackle building with boarded-up windows and a rusty old gate, and it gave Jack an uneasy feeling. His friends dared him to go inside and explore, but Jack was too scared. He couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was inside that house. Over the next few days, Jack couldn't stop thinking about the abandoned house. He had nightmares about it, and during the day, he found himself gazing at it from a distance, wondering what could be inside. Finally, he mustered up the courage to go inside and take a look. As he crept through the old house, he heard strange noises and felt cold drafts. He was convinced that there was a ghost in the house, and he began to panic. Just as he was about to turn and run, he heard a voice behind him. "Who are you?" Jack turned around to see an old man standing there, staring at him curiously. The man was dressed in ragged clothes and looked like he hadn't seen a shower in weeks. "I'm Jack," said the little boy, his heart pounding in his chest. "What are you doing here?" The man told Jack that he used to live in the house a long time ago, but he had been forced to leave when he couldn't afford to pay the rent. He had been living in the woods ever since, surviving on what little he could find. Jack felt sorry for the man, but he was still scared of him. He knew that his parents had warned him never to talk to strangers, and he wasn't sure if he should trust this man. As he turned to leave, the old man grabbed him by the arm. "Wait," he said. "There's something I need to tell you." Jack froze, his heart racing as he wondered what the man was going to say. "You're afraid of the dark," said the man. Jack was startled. How did this stranger know about his fear? "It's okay," the man continued. "I used to be afraid of the dark too. But then I learned something that helped me overcome my fear." "What did you learn?" asked Jack, his curiosity piqued. "I learned that the things we're afraid of are usually made up in our heads," said the man. "They're not real. The dark is just the absence of light, and the things we imagine are just our minds playing tricks on us." Jack thought about this for a moment. Could it be that his fear of the dark was all in his head? Was there really nothing to be afraid of? As he left the old man and walked back through the woods, Jack began to think about what he had learned. He realized that maybe he had been making up all these scary stories in his head, and that there was nothing to be afraid of after all. That night, as his parents tucked him into bed, Jack felt brave. He asked them to turn off the night light and close his bedroom door. And as he lay there in the dark, he realized that he wasn't scared anymore. He was free. As Jack grew older, he learned more about the world and realized that the old man was right. His fear of the dark had been made up in his head. He became a brave and confident young man, and he never forgot the lesson he had learned in the woods that day. And while he knew that there were still many scary things in the world, he also knew that he had the power to overcome them. The moon was high in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the trees. Jack walked confidently, his feet crunching on the gravel beneath him. He had no destination in mind, just a desire to be alone with his thoughts. But as he walked deeper into the woods, The darkness grew thicker, and the silence became almost deafening. Jack started to feel a twinge of unease in his stomach, but he brushed it off. He was a grown man, not a child afraid of the dark. He continued to walk, but now his steps were slower, more cautious. The crunching of the gravel had turned to a soft rustling as his feet met the underbrush. Suddenly, Jack heard a noise behind him. He spun around, but there was nothing there. He shrugged it off, telling himself it was just an animal. But then he heard it again. This time, the noise was closer, and Jack felt a chill run down his spine. He realized that he was not alone in the woods. He started to walk faster, his heart pounding in his chest. But the faster he walked, the closer the noise seemed to get. Jack felt like something was chasing him, like he was being stalked by some unseen predator. The darkness that he once found comforting now felt suffocating, as if it was closing in on him. Jack tried to shake the feeling, but it was no use. He was trapped in the darkness, with no way out. As Jack walked, he began to see things out of the corner of his eye. Shadows moved around him, and he heard whispers in his ear. He turned, but there was never anyone there. It was like the darkness was alive, and it was trying to consume him. Jack started to run, his heart racing with fear. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew that he had to get out of the woods. But the faster he ran, the more the darkness seemed to envelop him. The shadows around him grew deeper, and he felt like he was sinking into a bottomless pit. Finally, Jack saw a light in the distance. He ran towards it, his legs burning with exhaustion. As he got closer, he realized that it was a cabin. Jack pounded on the door, begging for someone to let him in. But there was no answer. As Jack stood there, panting and sweating, he realized that he was truly alone in the darkness. He was a small, insignificant speck in the vastness of the night, and the darkness was all around him. Jack had believed that the darkness was not scary, but now he knew that he was wrong. The darkness was the most terrifying thing he had ever encountered, and when it came to walk at night again, he would never be found.